This is That One Audition with Alicia Oxy.
So if you are at home, is this Pittsburgh? Did I read that correctly?
This is Pittsburgh, yes.
Pittsburgh, where it
Get
all
wine out of
began?
my
No, keep the wine right in. I should go get
brain.
myself a glass of wine
I was
too.
like, you know what? I'm talking to a girlfriend. This is
Yes,
gonna be, I'm like, this should be nice and cash.
it is nice and cash. Yeah, you're getting ready to have a celebration here in 20, 30 minutes. So we're just chilling and relaxing and we get to pick into your whole journey.
Yeah.
So I love that you're home with parents right now. So I want to know, was singing the pathway that you're like, because your voice, wow, what a stunning, beautiful voice that you have. So I want to know, as a little girl, were you going to be like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do songwriting, and then did acting just end up settling up alongside of it, or what's the origin story here, Morgan?
So when I started, music was definitely, that was the vehicle that was moving everything forward, it seemed. Then I went to a creative and performing arts high school, and I was predominantly a singer and a dancer. I had never really been that into acting. I loved film and loved TV, but I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me. So it wasn't somewhere that I felt I had a place in. And it wasn't something that was like, it wasn't something that I aspired to ever really be. I didn't see myself in that space. So that was never on my dream board for that. But I do remember going to the Creative and Performing Arts High School in Pittsburgh, and I was really torn between these two majors because you have to pick a major. And I didn't want to just pick dance because I was like, but then I'm going to be abandoning my singing.
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to just pick my singing because then I felt like still really love moving my body. So musical theater was the next best thing. And I walked into my first acting class, and it was my acting teacher's first day also. And he went around the class and asked every student and said, why do you want to be an actor? Why do you want to be an actor? Why do you want to be an actor?
Ooh,
And
what was your
he,
why then? What was it?
he got to me, and you will not be excited about this, but my why was this was the only course that had singing and dancing in it.
Honest.
And
I'm
it
gonna,
was real flat.
uh-huh.
It felt exactly like how I just told you. It
Yep.
was not well received. My acting teacher thought that I was trying to be a know-it-all or something. I'm not really sure, but the funniest part of that story is that I then fell in love with acting because of that teacher, and he is still my acting coach to this day.
Stop.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I always like to hear the tea. So who's the acting coach? Who's the teacher?
The one and only Billy Hartung. I have to tell you, he's been in two Broadway shows. He was famously in Chicago. He is a stellar dancer, a stellar actor, an amazing singer, an even better father and husband. He runs a Center for Theater Arts here in Pittsburgh. And I send all of my friends who are really looking to deep dive into scene work and into a audition or into scene study to go to Billy, because he really ignites every part of you and every style, every method, and makes it so grounded and so human. I cannot speak highly enough about Billy Hartung.
I love it. So when you graduate with Billy being in your corner, and what's your why then? What's your why? And I'm assuming you go to New York, yeah?
I do go to New York after that. I go to college for about a year and then I become a college dropout. But before that, my why became you have to have an amazing educator in your life to inspire you. Sometimes we just don't see ourselves on these platforms that we strive to be on, or that we may seem some potential in the future for us. But that also means that we can pave the way for others to see themselves
Yeah.
there because you put in the hard work. But it all starts with somebody believing in you. And that was my incredible teacher.
That's amazing. So you graduate high school and then you
Mhm.
go and do a super lap of college. Where
Yeah.
did you go
I
where
went
did you
to
go?
Point Park University. At the time it was a college, was also in Pittsburgh. I got a scholarship for musical theater, double majored in musical theater and dance, and then minored in psychology, which was one of the smartest things I ever did because it helped me in this wild circus that we are a part of, and to really know how to read a room in the
Yeah.
first 5 seconds. And then I studied contractual agreements so that I knew what kind of paperwork I was signing.
Yes, Margot.
Yeah.
Okay, so what makes you leave? Does going to Broadway make you leave school, or at what point? Because I tried to leave school after a year, and I was like, "Why am I in this school? This is not helping me. Let me just get to
Yeah.
LA as soon as possible."
Right.
So, why do we leave college behind? Is
We
there?
leave college because of another incredible teacher that came into the frame. My vocal teacher, Mary Catherine Dykehouse, she was incredible. She has now passed away. And she called me into her office at one point. She was my vocal teacher. And I had about 5 jobs at the time while I was also in college, and I was still touring musically. So I was really burning the candle at every single wax point. And she came in or she had me come in and she was basically like, "What are you doing? You're screwing all this up. You don't need to be here. You need to go home. You need to talk to your parents and you need to get the fuck out." And she was very honest about it. And she
Meaning, go
very
to New York, start working? Like,
just get out, just try. If it meant music, go on tour. If it meant dancing, try a company. If it meant musical theater, go to auditions, try your hat at that. I don't think I would have rushed to have turned to that option. I didn't really even know that was an
hmm
option in the multiple choice of life. That
Right.
definitely was not something that my parents were advocating for. They wanted me to be in school. They wanted me to finish. I wanted to too. But when the time came, they were extremely supportive, which I know is not everybody's path. And I just got very lucky with a supportive family.
I love that because I do think we go to college to be educated on what we want to do next in life without having sometimes a compass, right? But if your compass is really strong and it's going to north, you know where your north node is. If you know that here's your talents and skills, I love that a teacher stepped in and was like, "Don't waste your money anymore. Let's just start
Yeah.
this train." I wish I would have started my train earlier. We can always go back to college. I know that this might
Let's go
not be
back.
the advocate for a lot of people's training. Some people might not know what their vocation is going to be. So then we go to
Right.
college and we find ourselves and we take some more classes until something ignites something in us. But the
Yes.
way the college system is set up now, even incredible conservatory programs, they're not really preparing you for the real worlds of acting. I have yet to find a program where I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm going to transition from this straight into being a working actor.
Yeah.
There's still like a long curve of trying to catch up what the real world is requiring of us as actors, as musically
Still have to live
trained.
it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
still got to live
Okay.
it.
So we go to New York, I'm assuming, right away, right? Now I want
Yeah.
to hear some audition stories. Like I want to hear, did that first year, did you already being really comfortable in front of crowds, being able to sing in front of people all the time, is that easily translatable into musical theater auditions, which is is that the right guess where you started?
That is the right guess where I started, but I actually did not start with any kind of comfort on stage. I had a horrible stage fright, and I still do. I
You
still have,
do?
I still have really bad stage fright. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
what are you doing? What are you doing before? What are the tangible things you're doing then before you step
Besides a
on
half a
stage?
bottle of Jack, which I do not recommend that to anybody. But
It's
that's
great.
what
It's great for the jazz singer
it
in you.
is
It's
great. It gives a little
good.
syrup and gives a little. But I still get incredible jitters on stage, but I now know that those jitters just mean that I really care and that the stakes are high and that as I continue on with my career, the stakes become higher and higher. So the day that those jitters go away is the day that I retire, and I'm not there yet. So I welcome them now and I'm not fearful of them anymore. They used to really take over my body and it would actually seize up my spine and it would lock up my neck. And then I would go into musical theater rooms and I would try to start singing, and my neck would be so taken over because of this whole spinal seizure going on because of fear. And I was like, I can't keep moving like this because I'm literally not moving. I'm not going to be able to. So after one beta blocker, I started stepping into the world of knowing what to do with my anxiety. And that's been like a whole life journey, but I'm
Let's hear.
slowly describing that.
I want to hear if you're willing to share because I
Of
feel like
course.
that's the number one thing where people write in is what do I do with my anxiety before my auditions? And maybe we're not in the same incubator that we were in before where our nerves get the best of us because we have self-tapes now. But
Right.
I think first day on set nerves still are present. If you're auditioning for theater, if you're doing the chemistry read, I do think, and I think anxiety, even when you do an excellent job and it is out of your hands for the next 6, 7 days or weeks as
Yeah.
they make their decision, like how people really live as working actors and dealing with their anxiety, I think is part of the recovery system we don't talk about enough. So,
Yeah, I'll be very honest. I'm always an open book, as I told you before we started, but I was nervous about this tonight because there's been so many incredible guests that you've had on, and all of our peers on this show, we care about what we do and we love what we do, and we dream about the moment where we get to do it again. And to be able to discuss that life choice that not everybody can even imagine, let alone dream of, and then get to touch. It means a lot to be on here. So it obviously my nerves and anxiety showed up today, and I just look at them now and I just talk to them now and I acknowledge them and I say things like, hey, anxiety, I know you're here in my body. I could feel you in my left arm and my right side oblique. I really don't need you today. Thank you for showing up, but I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. I am good. I am safe. I am taken care of and I am safe in this moment. And that is okay. And I just relax and settle into that moment and just watch it just slowly start to change. It doesn't really disappear. It just starts to evolve and it lessens. So it doesn't
yeah.
really ever go away. You figure out how to live with it.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, right? Because whatever we resist persists. And early in my career, I try to be like, I'm not nervous, I'm fine. And then the hives would come, and I'm like, clearly, everybody else can see that I'm having hives, but I'm cool. I'm cool. Not cool. Not cool at all.
Not cool.
Not cool. So I want to hear some audition stories
Yeah.
showing up as Margot first into New York City. How did you get an agent manager? Like, what was your post each year that kind of got you finally to, I think you landed in off Broadway and some Broadway productions, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
My original landing needed to be done within 12 months because that's how long my parents gave me until they told me that my butt was getting back in school or else. I didn't need to go back to Point Park. I didn't need to go back to Pittsburgh. I didn't need to go back to musical theater or dance. I actually was looking at production and engineering schools in New York just to keep me in New York, but they were like, after you have 12 months to make it. And
Ooh. And did this teacher
that's
call
it.
up some people for you to be like, okay, you need to leave. Let me give you some assist? Or were you on your
Honestly,
own?
I didn't even think about asking, which is now that you're saying that, that's insane that I never asked, but there's a lot of insane moments that I've had in life, so that just adds to
Always
the
works out.
list. But
Yep.
I moved to New York. I found an apartment on somewhat of a Craigslist, and it was like apartment living, and it was this tiny little 2 bedroom, but makeshift 4 bedroom in Tribeca. I was paying an insane amount of money. And this was still of the times that we had papers and playbill ads and everything, and we weren't on social media looking, we weren't online looking at, the deadlines and everything.
Yep.
I was not in equity at the time, so I did not have my equity card because I didn't go through college, so I didn't earn it. I didn't have my SAG card, I didn't have my Aftercard. This was when it was split. So I didn't have any card. I had zero rep. I had zero family, zero friends in New York, and my parents were like, here's 12 months, you figure it out. So I hit the ground running. I started looking at ads and going to every audition that I possibly could. I then started seeing that there was a theme at these auditions where you would show up, they would see union people, but then there was always a small chance that non-union people would be seen, but they would be seen at the end of the day. It was just really dependent off of the casting or producers if they were tired, to be real.
Ah,
So I
uh-huh.
just showed up first before the union people even got there. I would show up 3 hours before the audition room even opened so that I would be the first in line and I would hopefully make a good impression on whoever was checking names.
Yeah.
And I stuck around until the end of the day because that was my job, was to get a job. So I was going into every single room. And then I remember that there was auditions for Rent off Broadway. And it was one of the only musicals that I actually saw myself on stage and in, and I grew up loving it. And I was like, I have to go out for this. This is amazing. It's the same director as the original, same costume, same everything. Like this is going to be an iconic bring back. And I went out for it. It was union only. And it was like a call to action. The line wrapped around avenues and blocks, but I was there at 5 o'clock in the morning. It opened at 9 a.m. And
What
I
place
was
were you in
ready.
line? If you got there
I
at 5 a.m.,
I
what place
was
were you in line?
I was number 719.
Oh my, I just wanted the realism of the story. Wow.
I was number
Wow.
719. There ended up being over 5,000 people there. And what they did is they did a type out. So they would go down the line and you would have these smaller interns that were probably around my age at the time or maybe a little older. And they would go down the line and just say, no, yes, no, no,
Just off of a
yes,
look.
just look,
Oh, okay.
just look.
Okay. Okay.
So I had my hoodie on, I had my denim jacket, I had my grunge kind of vibe, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this first type out. We had that 8 times before you even got into the building. And then when we finally got into the building, then they broke us up into groups. And then you had, I think it was 8 bars that you can sing, which is over in a second.
Yes. Yeah.
So you had 8 bars to sing twice through for 2 different rounds. And then if you made it past those 2 rounds, then you can come back and sing your 16 bars. I made it past those three. So now we're at 10. And then I come back a couple more times throughout the week, and I was the only one to book from the open call. Everybody else in the cast had an agent. And
Out
that
of
is out of
Were the
5,000
5,000
something.
people, out of the 5,000 people, you were the one that got it? Because everybody else that had agents and managers, did they have a different audition process than these
Yes.
5,000?
Yeah, this was just the open call. So yeah, everybody else had an appointment. I couldn't get one.
At this point, did you call your parents? And at what point in the year does this happen?
This actually happens at a really tricky point in the year. My grandmother unexpectedly passes away, and that was my last audition. And she was the matriarch of our family. So it was unfortunate. I was going in for my audition. I remember I called a girl, or I was going into my audition and I got a text from a girlfriend saying, I'm so sorry to hear about Oma. And I was like, what? And then I was like, I need to, because I knew she was already in the hospital and things weren't looking good, but I was like gonna get on a train to Connecticut like right afterwards. So I was like, I just need to get through this. So I go in, and then afterwards, my mom didn't tell me beforehand because she didn't want to screw up my audition. And I got out, and then we had the funeral.
Oh, Margot,
Yeah.
that's, ugh, ugh. So then you go home, but you go home with good news.
Yeah.
Now, do your parents extend this 1 year? Does this 1 year burden or I guess rule slip away with you getting rent?
Yes, that was then a job, so I could actually pay my rent.
Exactly. Rent for
Yeah.
rent.
Rent for rent. Yeah. And when I was in there, that was when I sent out 12. This was also back in the day when they had the headshots and resumes stapled together back to back. And I didn't have a way of getting into these offices, and I didn't have enough credits to my name or any. And I didn't want to just be another throwaway headshot or like a coffee resting
Mhm.
place. So I hired 12 messengers to hand deliver it to offices. And I got 4 calls back from the 12, which was a good percentage.
So this is for
And
ta talent agency or a
for
manager
talent
or
agency,
representation?
yes. This is
Hmm.
for a rep because everybody else in
Smart.
my cast was saying that I have a rep. This is my rep. And I was like, oh my God, people have reps. Okay, this is what I need to do now. This is the next thing in the line. Okay, I got a job now. I need to get a rep. That's what all these people do. This is the way that this works. Sent it out to 12 people, got 4 calls back, ended up getting 3 meetings. One was with a company that never came out to the waiting room, just left me sitting in there until I left finally after 2 or 3 hours. And
Oh,
another one brought me into the boardroom and basically laughed at me and like actually laughed at me and said, I don't know what you think this is, but like you have nothing on your resume. I don't know where I'm supposed to place you. And I was like, okay, thank you for your time. And then the third one decided to take me on.
Oh, what a way to bookend a year of, okay, I need to find a job. I need to pay my rent.
Yeah.
Rent, here's rent. Now,
Right. Here's
working with
what-
this, was it an agent or manager that decided to take you on?
It was an agent.
And was this agent then mostly focused then on theater, or were they also diversified where they were working with television and film as well?
It was everything across the board. So I knew that it was going to
Everything.
be everything.
So when does your why change again from, okay, now I've gotten the off-Broadway, I got on stage. Also, you get to use all of your tools. Come
It
on,
was fun. It
voice,
was fun.
body, everything.
Yeah.
When do you get the bug of, okay, I can't necessarily make a full living in theater.
Yeah.
What brings you to television and film?
My dancing career ended during Rent. I twisted my knee and it took me out. So I was
Did you get to finish the
actually,
production?
I did get to finish the production. I learned a lot about producers and the show business side of things on that show. And this is very important. And I
Really?
teach anybody that I work with or teach with master classes or lectures or anything. This is so important to know that show business is the line of employment that we have all signed up for. It is not just about the show, it is majority of the time about the business. And the business sees you as a product. And Rent
Hmm.
producers were no different. So the second that my knee got busted, they did tell me that I could take my time to get back on stage and to heal properly and to not rush anything. But while you do that, we're just going to bring in a couple other replacements and see how this feels. So I would sit in the theater and I would watch all of my fill-ins every single day for rehearsal until my butt was back up on that stage, which was only a couple weeks later because I was like, I can't lose this job. I cannot lose this job. So I just basically tied my knee together every night before the performance and hoped and prayed that my kneecap would stay in place.
Oh
But
my
after
goodness.
that run, I was no
Done.
longer really
Yeah.
a dancer.
Oh, okay. So then that kind of changes the
That kind of
theater.
became my why in a different way. I realized just really how cutthroat this business could be and how delicate these platelet shifts could occur. And so I started going out for auditions right away because I didn't want to be without a job when Rent closed and I kept going and I knew that it was coming to an end. And I went out for Boardwalk Empire and
Is that literally one of the first auditions that you start going that you went to?
that was my first audition and my first job.
Margot, you got to be kidding me. No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
No way. All right. I need to hear this Boardwalk Empire audition. Or is it just the blind, great naivete of the situation that you're treating it like a theater audition? Because I know that your character sang. Did
Yeah.
they, I want
Yeah.
to know the whole audition process for this. Because what season are you on Boardwalk? Is it first
Four
season?
and five.
The juggernaut of this show? It's huge.
I
Or
do
did you
to a
not?
certain extent. I do, but not to the fullest, which I'm very grateful for. But it definitely felt more like a theater call, which it was, because they were looking at the time, it was just like either it was either going to be a day player or it was going to be a weekly guest star for this background chanteuse singer that was going to be in like a couple scenes for one, possibly two episodes. So when I came in, I saw all of these like Broadway goddesses in there, like these women that I so looked up to and was so inspired by and anxious to be in the same vicinity as. And I was like, oh my God, it's you. Oh my God, it's you. Whoa. And then I found myself in the bathroom at one point. I had gone back, I think, seven auditions in the whole process, seven or nine auditions. And I remember going back at one point and I saw this incredible actress in the bathroom. And we were talking, and I was like, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I am such a fan. I'm wishing you the best of luck today. And she was like, oh, thank you so much. I wish you luck too. And I was like, I really hope you get it. And then she walked out, and I was like, why the fuck did I just say that?
You're
I
like,
was like, actually, I don't hope she gets it. I want this. And I was like, in that moment, that became my why. And I walked into the room and I was like, I'm getting this. This is my, I want this. I want this job. It's not just somebody that I look up to. Why can't that be me too? I want this job. I went
Mhm.
in and I got it.
So tell me what you had to do. Did you have to go in and sing first since you had 7 to 9 different auditions? What was
Yes.
the callback process with all of this? Or walk me through what you had to do.
It was like dummy sides, and
Mhm.
it was, I think, one or two songs. And then the really interesting part, whenever I ended up getting the job, my position, my role was split up into two different things because I was the singer on the show for this specific role, but then I also was going to be the actor for this job. So when I got to the recording studio, which was like my backyard, the producer and the engineer and all the musicians there at the studio that day for the session were being very hand-holding to me and very delightful and lovely. But okay, this is a microphone. We don't get too close to it when we sing. We have to
Oh
make sure
my
that we're
gosh.
this way. Like they had no idea what my background was in music. So I just let them walk through everything and I was like, okay. And they're like, we're going to have an open band rehearsal. So if you can sing with the band, if you feel comfortable, why don't you just listen to first? And I was like, I think I'll just try it. And then I did it and I knew my background. So I was like, I was like, watch this.
Just watch.
Just watch this. So I started and they were like, oh, okay, okay. So that was really fun. And then it was the same exact thing on the other side of the camera, which was for acting. And they were like, okay, this is where you stand. We're going to put marks here. And I was like, okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. So what do you think? Because if it's supposed to be like an episode or two and it turns into 11. So
Yeah.
is it because of,
Yeah.
I always say, you've heard me say this on the podcast, right? Like when we're auditioning for guest stars, even reoccurring co-stars, it's us anchoring in deep relationship to any series regular. So it gives the writers ideas of where to go. They always need to know where to go. Like you can be the great answer to their prayers of like, where are we going this season? What are we doing with this person? Yes, sure, they're going to have an idea, but then you as the vessel can give them a lot of ideas. So
That's
I'm
right.
curious where you found that opening or if you feel like that was just serendipitous that it ended up like just continuing on, or can you pinpoint what kept you in the lane of them bringing you back again and again?
I had incredible angels by my side, and I had an even better co-star that was Michael K. Williams. And
Amazing.
he was the best. He was a dear friend of mine. Him being gone is still very surreal to me. And he just walked me through the whole process. And he was the best. And I think the chemistry between us, they really saw it and they saw the real love that we had for each other. And we were just connected from day one. And I think that really showed.
You didn't know him though before shooting, right? Okay.
No.
So what did he share about the process? Was he sharing more technical process notes of, okay, we shoot out of order. Okay, this is what we're doing here. Or what was his, I ask this usually at the end, what did you learn from him that allowed you to feel safe and allow that chemistry to really be seen?
He just included me everywhere that we went. So whenever I was on set, if I didn't know where to sit, if I didn't know where to go, if I'd never seen Crafty before, he was
Yeah.
like, yo, baby girl, come over here. Here, you want something to eat? What do you want? And I would go over and then I would watch him and I would watch him address other people and I would watch him glide throughout the room and I would know how that felt. And then we would come back to the cast chairs and he's like, here, come and sit right next to me. And I was like, oh, okay, there's a seat for me now. So he made a place for me. That's really
Yeah.
what he did.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training,
From singing study classes to audition classes.
to even an MFA, and still not be able to book a two-line co-star.
That's why we created the Bridge for Actors.
A collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
To a working actor.
He really did. Okay, so tell me. Now I'm looking at your resume and it feels to me right after Boardwalk Empire, maybe unbeknownst to you, since this was your first like television audition, it feels like you don't stop working. So like
Mhm.
Barbershop, I know it came out 2016, but I'm sure you shot it right after Boardwalk. So
Yes.
I want to know, going from auditioning for Boardwalk Empire, that's one thing. Barbershop, like completely different genre specifically. We've got film. How was that audition, if you're willing to share?
Of course, yeah. I was working actually on another movie right after Barbershop, or excuse me, right after Boardwalk came out. It was really the first season of Boardwalk that happened. And my agents that I was with at the time, I kept telling them what was happening. And I was going into the recording studio pretty much every single day recording new material because the team, the music supervisors just kept giving me stuff. They were like, hey, can we try this song out? Can you try this song? Can you come into the studio here? I ended up recording about 85 songs for the show.
Oh,
And I'm on two of their soundtracks, but a lot of it was thrown out and most of it was put behind other scenes in that season for me behind other characters' scenes, but it was very low. So I ended up being the soundtrack for the season, which is wild to think about. And I kept telling my agents, like, I'm going in more. I'm going in more. I think my part is getting bigger. I don't know what this means because my paycheck was still very small. And unfortunately, what they did at the time, they knew that I was green and they just did not pay me what I was worth. And what they would do is if I had 3 days of working, instead of paying me for 3 days, as we know, anything over three you can round up for the week. They would pay me for if I had to come in for a fitting or something like that on the fourth day, they would consider that to just be rolled into the week so that they could pay me the week payment
the
instead
weekly
of the
rate.
daily rate, which cut my number down. And
Mm.
I never became a recurring, and I never actually became a series regular. I was never considered for that. So I was paid just as a weekly rate, as just almost like a daily. And then for my music, I was paid as a work for hire musician. So I never got any kind of anything
That's
else.
what that was going to be my question, is for the perform or the yeah, the musical performance side. So it was just like a
Yeah.
daily, it was just a session rate. And
That was it. It was $900 a day. And they ended up taking one of my songs for the last season and they sold it to EA Sports for one of the top selling games of the year. And they did not tell me.
oh, show business. So we're learning
Show
some
business.
business.
Show
We're
business.
learning the
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
My question like was, once you get catapulted, like people are watching Boardwalk Empire, right? They're seeing you, they're hearing you. Does is your talent age is your agent able to be like, here, let me get her here, let me get her here? Did it feel like a lot of doors opened?
So at the time when I told my agents what was happening, they didn't believe me. They just said that I was new and that I didn't understand. And then the show came out and they realized what a big role I had taken in it. And that was of my own doing. And they basically tried to keep me because they knew that my star meter was going to rise. And I ended up leaving them because of a really dear mentor, also another teacher in my life. And they were, you got to go. And then after the first season of Boardwalk for myself, it really skyrocketed my career. And for the next couple years of my career, I was this young, up and coming, hot it girl on the scene. And God, do I miss those days? But it was lovely at the time. I got nominated for a SAG award, I
Yes.
for ensemble, and I couldn't apply for anything else because I was not getting paid as anything else. And I ended up signing with CAA. That was one of the biggest moments ever. I was like at a party
CAA
with
came a knocking.
Michael and one of the agents was there and he was like, "Oh, you're Margot, like we have been watching you," and this kind of thing. And then I was doing another movie when I auditioned for Barbershop and I was shooting in Detroit. It was an independent film and I did my audition, my self-tape from my hotel room in Detroit for Barbershop.
And at this point, you're with CAA.
And at this point I'm with CAA.
Okay. All right. So we got, okay, that makes so much lovely sense in a good way, because once
Yes,
you get called up to the big leagues, not that you can't, your talent is exactly the same. It's just the opportunity is more
correct.
vast. There's
Yeah,
just like anybody that's listening, any casting director, anything that's getting packaged, CAA knows about it first.
that's
So
right.
every
And they have the
actor,
relationships. They have the
yes. Well,
relationships.
and they
So it's
want to
like,
keep, and casting wants to keep that relationship with CAA. Everybody
right,
wants to please CAA, so you're going to
right.
get more opportunities. So for those that are listening, it's like, yeah, Boardwalk Empire, then we have Barbershop, then we have The Family, which is 12 episodes. That's a whole season, right? Series regular.
Yes, my
It's,
first series regular job. Mhm.
we get a handful of great films back to back. Then Queen Sugar. I'm curious, when do you part ways with CAA? Like we're steadily climbing, and I know this might be a tender subject, but
No,
what are the
actually,
highs and lows?
it's
We're
close.
shot out of the,
Yes,
you're in Barbershop now with every comedic genius that can come to play, and it's
yes,
so fun.
yeah.
So now we've got Boardwalk Empire, and CAA can be like, look, she can do anything. She can sing, she can dance. She's on the hottest show here in period piece. And now here we have her as this like snotty, fun, comedic, and she can hold her own with some comedic geniuses in Barbershop. So who wants Margot? Come get her. So I
With
feel like that was a nice, probably few years. How long were you
it
with
was
them?
was a really nice few years. I can't recall how many years I was with them right now, but I do remember how it ended. And I was out in LA and I was taking a couple meetings while I was there because I was living in New York at the time.
General
And
meetings?
yes,
Yeah.
just some generals and meeting with casting directors and production companies. And I remember I kept trying to get in contact with my one agent, my film agent, and he wasn't responding back to me. And I was like, I'm coming in 2 days. I would really love to see you. It's expensive for me to fly. Can you make time? And then I went to Soho House one night and I remember running into him and he had
Hmm.
yet to respond. And I was like, hey, it's good to see you. And he's like, oh, Margot, I didn't know you were in town. And I was like, surprise, I'd love to come into the office and make an appointment. And he was like, yes, call my assistant. We'll get something on the books tomorrow. And I was like, great. So when I go to the office, I pull up to this mega agency, which is ultra fancy and it has all the Porsches outside and the Lambos outside and just like
Yeah.
all of this stretch of cars, just like a car show. And this gorgeous black a glass building, and I pull up in
Mhm.
my Prius rental, and I get out of the car, and obviously they want to get that away as quickly as possible. And I go inside, and I'm waiting to see my film agent, and I run into another of my film agents because I had about 8 people on my team at the time. A couple people were not my main, but there were other people that I had seen and I had known of, and they were
Mhm.
getting checks from me. So I ran into one of them and I wasn't as put together as I normally like to be. I was on my way to the airport. It was just very much in transit. This was the only time I could see my agent. So I didn't have like my hair perfect. I didn't have a ton of makeup on. I wasn't all dolled up. I just looked like a normal woman. And my one agent I said hello to, and he just didn't even look in my direction and didn't acknowledge me at all. And I remember that feeling of being in that environment. And I just kept
Mhm.
looking around, and it was just this toxic, aligned feeling that just did not sit right to me. And with everything happening with my agent, him not getting back in touch with me, and then literally looking at my agent in the eyes and him not even acknowledging me as a human, let alone remembering that I'm his client. I got on the plane, I wrote my resignation letter that plane ride, and I landed and shut my phone off for 48 hours and I left with no safety net.
Margo, you did?
I did. I was like, fuck this, I'm out. I
Good
can't
for
do it.
you. Good
I
for you.
just, I don't want to be
A
around
product.
people
Yeah.
that I just don't vibe with. And I understand that there is show business. This is the part that gets a little muddy because you do have to know that you are a product. How much are you willing to sell your product for? And what are
Yes.
you willing to risk for it?
And also, if you have agents and managers that don't even, if you have agents that don't even know you, they're not selling you as the product. They're selling your last project. They're selling Boardwalk Empire as the project, or they're selling Barbershop as. So if they don't get the time and space to know you, how are they selling you
Right.
beyond these peaks? To
Right.
me, it's the valley moments where you see how your representation really knows and sticks through with, right? They trust your talent. They trust timing and talent, right?
Yes.
So these bigger CAAs, UTAs, WME, they're a business. And
Yes.
if the product's moving, they're going to keep you on the shelf. If the product's not moving, they don't go check on the product. They just dump
Yeah.
it or
Yeah.
they silently withdraw. You know, when they're not paying attention to that product line, it's because it's
Right.
not moving the way that but you were paying the money. But
Right.
here's the thing that I think a lot of actors get confused on. I've had friends be dropped from these major agencies that are making them money. There is a threshold that these agents have to meet. So you
That's
could
it.
be making them 30, 40, $50,000. And in your head, you're like, I'm making them
That's a
money.
good change. Yeah, that's a good
But
chunk of
if you're
change.
not making them six figures,
Not-
now I'm not saying that's what the threshold is, but there is a threshold for these bigger companies that
yes.
you need to be making, even if you're the most brilliant actress in the world, but you're sitting. Julia Roberts is still making them the threshold, even though she's not working this year off of her
Right.
residuals. It is a business. And that is
Right.
a really, so then thank you for being honest about this, because then did it feel like a valley moment in your career? Like, how do you then start
Big
building?
time.
What year is this? Because I'm just curious where it falls in like your
This
timeline of work.
was 2016, I believe, either
Great.
2016 or 2017, around then.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I had
2018 comes
just like,
around. You're still working though. You're
yeah,
Mrs. Maisel and she's got to have it. Were you on She's Gotta Have It before you left?
I was not on She's Gotta Have It. Yes. Yeah. No.
Okay.
No. Because I was just thinking about when I met Spike and that I think that appointment came from UTA. No, I had finished The family ended. I was a recurring on Queen Sugar, and Mrs. Maisel was just like a day thing, but
Mhm.
that is an interesting story to go into and something that I was excited to share with you today. But
Yeah, do.
but the She's Gotta Have It thing that came with UTA.
UTA. It's okay. So give me the Mrs. Maisel because I feel like to me, I was like, this has got to be an offer. This is
Yes.
just me.
So I was doing music for the show, and I still do a lot of music for soundtrack work for different TV shows, film work. And a lot of the music supervisors are actually all the same. So I've been in this world for some time, and it was the same music supervisor as Boardwalk. So I knew that whole team there, and they needed a period piece type of sound. And obviously, I have become like a go-to for them. I knew it well with Boardwalk. It was easy to step into for that. And I remember a girlfriend of mine called me who was the music supervisor on it. And she was like, hey, so they need somebody for a day or two. I know you're a series regular and She's Gotta Have It, but do you think you can get out? Like, it would be so much fun to see you on stage because they want somebody light skinned and they want somebody like you. And I had to go ask Spike to see if I was allowed to step out for a couple days because he does not love to talk to suits. So I had to grow the spine to, or a spine, to ask him for permission to step out for a day. And he gave me the permission for one day. And I went back to Maisel production and I said, I am clear for one day. Then they started going through my agents, which was UTA. And they agreed that She's Gotta Have It was in first position. So obviously, if She's Gotta Have It for any reason wanted to change their mind and they wanted to call me in for that day, first position, anybody
Mhm.
listening to this that does not understand, that means that I legally have to go to my first position job, which was She's Gotta Have It. So if production started raining outside and they had planned for an outdoor shoot that I was not in, and it started raining and they took it inside and that was all of my scene work, I then had to change overnight and the other production had to okay that. Maisel did. So I get to set. This is my day off, essentially my day off. And I know all of the hair and makeup department over the years because I'd been working in New York for over 10 years at this point. Most of the camera guys and ladies I knew as well. All of the sound department I knew. And a couple of the cast members I knew too, because we were all this period piece type of character. So we would see each other a lot. And I go in, I feel super confident. I feel so like at home because I'm like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in 5 years. Oh my God. It was like a reunion in there. It felt so great. And they put the wig on me and they put the dress on me. I'm there at 5 in the morning, I think. And I finally am done at 11 and we're ready to go in. They start they start walking through the shot and they say, Margot, we're going to need you for 2 days. And they got sneaky because they didn't talk to my agents about this. They went directly to me. And I was like, guys, you understood the agreement and you signed the paper, and I have 1 day here. And production was basically like, we need you for 2 days or you need to leave. And I was like, then good luck finding someone else right now because I leave.
Yeah.
And then I realized that they couldn't find anybody else. So I took it upon myself to help them, even though I was technically cut for the day. I call my best friend. She's a singer, incredible jazz singer, light skin, same height, same dress size, same shoe size, same
Wow.
everything, basically, except for being a different human being. And I was like, how quickly can you get here? And I'm in Jersey, like an hour and a half. And I was like, great, I'll see you then. I'll wait here until you get here. I'm now off the clock. And they came back after I got them a replacement and they said, she can't get here any earlier. And I was like, I didn't have to do this for you guys.
Yeah.
She's coming when she can. She just dropped her whole day and she has a son and she's a mother and she works for a living. So she will be here when she can. So I was like, oh, I'm definitely sticking around now because the way that you're treating me is not going to fly to treat my friends. So I was like, protector, mama bear, this is not going to go down with her. So she gets in. And she goes into hair and makeup and everything. So they put on her wig, they put on the dress, fits perfectly. I'm just hanging out now. And we're sitting in the trailer and just relaxing. And a PA comes into the trailer and says, Margot, the producers and directors want to see you. And I was like, technically, I'm not here anymore. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but I don't know you and I don't mean to come off in a rude manner, but I'm not even supposed to be here anymore. So I don't know what this is about. And they were like, no, really, you need to come upstairs. They want to talk to you. I don't know. They want to talk to you. At this point, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Nothing has been filmed, by the way. Nothing.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, I'll be right back. I tell my girl, I'm like, I'll be right back. Are you okay? And she's, yeah, I'm good. I'm just hanging out. She has like her bathrobe on. She's living the life. I'm like, okay, I'll go upstairs. So I go upstairs, and the directors had agreed that they would rather use me and that they will shoot me out. So they say, as long as you're comfortable coming back in, we would love to use you. So I was like, okay. So I go back downstairs. They unwig her,
Oh
re-wig
my
me,
gosh.
put my makeup back on, put the dress back on. Now it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm like, this 2 day situation that you were so hell bent on could have been done in 1 day, but instead you bitched and moaned through the whole process. I found you a replacement. You still had a problem with it. I stuck around out of respect for my friend, and you still use me. So I go upstairs and I just have to take all of that away and I have to put it to the side. And I'm like, you know what? I have to come back professionally. And I will tell you what relationships mean. Because the second that I walked on that set, I could have been shaky. Talk about anxiety. I was so anxious and so like my nerves were out of control because this insane day that just happened that was supposed to be easy. Meanwhile, production was calling production at She's Gotta Have It and risking my actual job. And I was like, this has gotten so out of hand. But all of the relationships that I put in the years before with every single department, I knew that they had me covered. I looked over at camera and they were like, we got you. Makeup was like,
That's
we
amazing.
know that this was not you. It's okay. Just breathe. You're okay.
Thank
It
God.
all mattered in that moment. And that was my day off. Maisel
Again,
break. The
doing
business.
its thing, doing the
The
business,
business.
doing its thing. And then I love
Business,
that. Thank
businessing.
God you had people in your corner because there's nothing like being yelled at asked to do things, and then they're like, and now we're rolling. You're
Yeah,
like,
and they're like, "And action," and I'm
in
like,
action, here we go. I
I'm like,
know.
I'm supposed to be grateful, but I will say that when the premiere came, one of the producers on the show, that I will go not naming, but we were on the carpet at the same time, and that person had one of the biggest problems and came at me the hardest that day. And at the premiere, that person also took the time to acknowledge how much finding me was such a gift, and that they were the person that found me for this job, and that they were so lucky to have someone like me there. And that was really their doing, that they,
That's good. Full
I was
circle
like,
moment. I'm going to be remiss, and people that are listening are going to be like, wait, hold on. You dumped CAA. How does UTA come in the mix? 48 hours not turning on the phone. Is it you finding UTA, or does UTA go, oh, she's up for grabs, and I'm going to come get her? How
they
does
were coaching me for a little bit, unbeknownst to me. But my managers told me after I left CAA that UTA wanted to take a meeting with me. So,
Wonderful. Okay. Now we have to know about the meeting with Spike for She's Gotta Have It. So I wanted, because you're like, even you mentioned just the chance meeting of Spike. So I don't know if this was a chance meeting off of an audition, or I want to know.
this was for She's Gotta Have It.
Yep.
And I remember meeting him, and I had just finished The Family, and he was a man of little words and intimidating as ever. You come in Spike Lee, and you're like,
Were you coming in for
so,
an audition, or was this a general?
so he wanted to take meetings first before the auditions began, just to see if he could vibe with people and to see who he would want them for. So I went to Soho House to meet him, and he was just sitting there, just in his chair. And he starts asking me, and I thought he said, how was my family? But he meant, how was the family, the TV
Yeah.
show? So I start telling him about my family and telling him, I'm like, oh, my mom is good. They're both in Pittsburgh, and my parents, and this is where I'm from. And I go on for, I don't know, 5 minutes because I clearly can talk. And he's the family. And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, oh my God, I just screwed this up already. I just got here. How did I mess this up? I remember leaving that conversation, and I called my mom, and I was like, I think he hates me. I think he really, I don't think I'm going anywhere with this. And then I ended up getting the audition for it was Clorinda at the time, and another role. And then after going in for that, he called me back in for all four roles, and gave me about 14 pages of material. And it was the next day that I had to be off book, and he had already picked his guys, and I knew that. And I started looking into what this cast was going to shape up to be. And obviously She's Gotta Have It was his first directorial debut. That was out of his own seed money for that movie. And it's iconic to him. So it means and meant the world to him. So I wanted to really look into it. I had seen that Anthony Ramos had been going in a lot for Mars, and he was set for Mars. And I really wanted Clorinda Bradford, who played by his sister. And I did not want Nola Darling because there was just too much sex for me. I was like, this is way too much. I'm not ready to step into this role, but I would love Clorinda. So I actually had a girlfriend who was in Hamilton, and she was on as a swing. And I said, could you reach out to Anthony or see if he's comfortable if I get his contact? And she gives me his contact. He's comfortable. And I reach out to him before my audition, and I say, hey, can we just grab a coffee before we go into the room? Because it was a chemistry read. And I knew that if I had a coffee with him, any kind of fear, anxiety, nerves, boundaries, any kind of barrier to entry would be broken if we just sat down and broke bread. So he agreed to meet me for coffee. He thought I was just introducing myself, but I did have other reasons why. And I was like, I want to get comfortable in this because I know you are guaranteed. I'm not guaranteed. I got to play this. So I bought him a coffee. We talked for 45 minutes before we went in. So then when we went in and we were ready for the scene work, we had already gotten all the jitters out of the way. It was game over.
And nailed. All right. So this is the part where now you can use any of it. You can use She's Gotta Have It. We can go to Watson. We can jump anywhere you want to go. But I want to know, especially when you just said 14 pages aside, have to be off book the next day. what is your process? Because you do come from movement first, voice next. Like, other than reading the script, what's your script analysis process? What's your process for getting it inside your body?
The first thing I do before anything else is I create a soundtrack for the character.
Ah, yes.
Always create a soundtrack. I'm like, what is she listening to
Even
all the
before,
time?
as you're reading the sides, like that's what
As
you're
I'm
coming
as
up.
I'm reading the sides, I'm like, what is her soundtrack going on in the back of her
Yeah.
mind? What is happening here? What does she wake up to? What does she go to work to? What does her commute look like? What is her daily? Is she in the car? What is she jamming to? If somebody pulled up beside her, what would she be embarrassed to be singing?
Yes.
What are these moments in her life that make her really human? So I start with the soundtrack, and then when something is that quick of a turnaround, I go right into character analysis. I break down the character completely. I try to do the best that I can with what I'm given, but anything that I'm not given, at that point, I make a decision and I stick to it. I make a choice
Are you
because
looking at behavioral patterns as far as like breaking down a character, or what's your way into the character that you're
I'm
excavating
looking
what's given on the page? Yeah.
I'm looking at the history of the relationship with the other characters. I'm looking at the history with her family, which makes her the
Mhm.
woman that she is. I'm looking at what kind of confidence she takes into a room, if she takes any, what kind of authority, if any. And then I will just go in with reading the scene first. I'll do it on like a voice memo on my phone and I'll just listen to it. I'll read the full scene for all the different characters, change my voice, and then I'll record another version where I don't say my lines and I'll mouth them so that I can just know how long it will take me to read the words out loud when I actually say them out loud. And then I just start writing down everything, all of the words. And I'll start with the first line and then I'll go to the first and second. And then I'll start again, first, second, third, and then first, second, third, fourth.
Oh, you're
I
repetition writing.
complete
Okay.
it. Yeah. So by the end of the scene, I pretty much know the scene within an hour.
Oh, yes, on these
Yeah.
tips. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, now everybody that's just been listening is okay, Margot, you're just killing it from peak to
I
peak.
don't know about that, but there's
That's
a
where I
lot of
want to
low peaks
ask.
in there.
We hit a lot of peaks. Are you kidding? From you've got a 12-month period, get out of school, get on this journey. Okay, now we're done with rent. Okay, here's Boardwalk. Okay, here comes CA. These are highlight peak moments.
Yes.
We haven't even gotten to The Walking Dead. Like you continue to work. But what people always ask me, and I think it's really nice to understand, is when there's these valley, have you had valley moments? And when there's valley moments, what's keeping you in? Like when 2020 hit and everything becomes self-tape, does that derail you for a little bit? Like what swings you from peak to peak is, I guess, a better question.
The self-tape game really screwed me up. I'll speak completely candidly about that. Like when I was in rooms and going into rooms, I was a closer. I love talking to people. I love getting to know people and getting to find a common ground. I love connecting. So when the self-tape world began, that connection of on screen and not being in the room to really get a feel for who somebody was,
Yeah.
that really set me back. So that was very challenging. And honestly, I still find a lot of challenge in self-tape, but I have I booked Walking Dead off of a self-tape. I
Ah,
booked Bass Reeves off of a self-tape. And I booked Watson off of a
Watson
self.
off self-tape. So
Yes.
what is your translation into self-taping? Did it take you a second to work out framing? What did you finally start putting into your practice of self-tape that you think started solidifying getting the job, working,
One of the
winning the self-tape game? Like when we book,
Right.
we're winning the self-tape game,
And
really.
honestly, I'll be real. I don't know if I'm winning the self-tape game. I do the best that I can, and that's really all that I can do. And that's really
Mhm.
all that we can all do.
Yeah.
And either they're looking for you or they're not. And
Yeah.
that's the out of control things that you just have to really release and let go. But the one thing that I focused on the most was lighting, because I would look at a couple of my amateur tapes and I would see something as simple as a glare, and the whole tape and frame would just look a little gritty and a little grady, and it
Mhm.
didn't look crisp. And it could have just been something as easy as just wiping off the smudging of your camera
Oh,
lens. Something
you,
so
I
easy. This
know.
sure you take a nice little cloth and just wipe off the lens. Get that focus sharp. Make sure that everything is in line because then you see it if you don't.
Yeah, you could be doing great work. And if we can't see it, like I just was coaching somebody right before this, and I was like, honey, I need you to step in this moment so I can see you emoting and you won't have to work as hard because then you're right here in your light and you're closer to frame. And I'm going to read every little nuance. I'm going to see that little crinkle that you
Yes.
don't have to from that far away. I won't be able to see it. Yeah,
Right.
I think, and you already had a lot of camera technique. What I was talking to somebody else about though before you had a lot of camera technique by just being on set and having a lot of experience, but you weren't in charge of the camera, so the cinematographer is going to punctuate a moment because he's going to zoom in on this. Now we're
Exactly.
at home, we have to learn in the self-taping arena how to punctuate a moment, how to move within the frame. You were already moving, you just weren't in control of the frame. Now you're in control of the frame, and I
Right.
think that's where a lot of people, there was a learning curve in that. Even if you were
Yes.
working and working, now not only the learning curve and okay, now I have to control the camera and can you see me in the lights, but then also there's a volume. Whereas when we went into the room before, maybe 50 people got seen for that role. Now
Mhm.
maybe 300 people get seen because they can watch
It's
the
like
tapes.
3,000. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
they can do it, but you're
Right.
still knocking on that door and the door is being answered constantly. Is there anything you would want to do different or that you would want to share right now with our audience that has helped you really bridge the gap from theater to television, television to film, like now into the self-taping world that yeah, your little last ode of advice.
It's all about who you know. I
Plant those seeds.
I went through 3.5 years of being unemployed before Watson, and that was the biggest drought that I had ever in my career. And I know I am hella lucky to say that. I know I am extremely privileged and extremely blessed to say that. I do acknowledge that. I also was not ready for that gap. I had just
Hmm.
bought a house. It was my first home. I was not ready to be unemployed. Not like anybody is ever ready to be unemployed. That's the most stupid comment that I could have made.
Oh, but
But
it's true. Your
it was
life was
really,
going a certain way, so you made
yes.
decisions according to where the plan was going. Yeah.
And it was just very challenging. And UTA drops me. I get signed to a new agency, which I am now currently at CESD. And in the first 2 weeks, they send me out for an audition. It's for Watson. And I have to say that after Watson was finishing up, I knew that it's important to reconnect with old friends. It's important to reconnect with relationships because I won't go back into that drought again. And I don't want to continue to have these dips because I'm closer to retirement than I am like being full throttle in this. I'm still very hungry in this game, but I've been in it for 16 years.
Yeah.
And the advice of making sure that you network your butt off is so important. This incredible podcast was because I cold emailed 5 podcasts. You were one of two to respond back. This is how we connect. We have to continue to grow our network. We have to continue to learn more about each other. We have to continue to connect and be in rooms that we weren't before because those rooms could possibly open up something else. So I
Yeah.
never write off a new room, and any room that I am grateful enough to be in, I try to make 5 more rooms out of that one.
Yes, Margot, I'm so glad you did because it's like this podcast is for the working actor. So when it is, we all have a journey to share. And again,
Yes.
take what you want, leave the rest. But there's always something to glean from this. And I think whether you're walking, biking, doing the laundry, there's always something I think that makes you realize, oh, if that person got through that hump or they just showed up on that day, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that.
Yes, you
Um,
can.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing your whole journey and letting me pick in and being honest.
Thank you.
That's the really, where can everybody follow along with you and watch Watson? That's coming out
Yes.
soon. Yep.
Yes, Watson. And we are wrapping up the show, unfortunately, but it was a really great run and we had a great time. And obviously, being a girl from Pittsburgh, to be able to showcase the show like this and showcase our city and represent Pittsburgh has just been an absolute dream. And everybody
Full
can find
circle.
me on Instagram. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a full circle moment. And I'm just very I love this job. I love this circus.
I love that I'm getting to talk to you right now back at your parents' home, finishing
Yeah.
up Watson right in the same city where they're like, you got 12 months, kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever go back into college? Did you ever step back foot into another classroom?
I did, but as an instructor.
Yes. Okay, wait, you were getting ready to say your Instagram handle and I cut you off. I'm sorry. At
Oh,
Margot.
no, that's okay. It's just at Margot Bingham, MargotBingham. And I do my best to be on socials, but sometimes I like to live a little bit too. So
Yeah.
follow me there.
Enjoy tonight.
Thank you
Enjoy
so much.
tonight. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for doing
You were
this.
such a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to be on set with you one day.
I can't. Yes.